It's now 9 o'clock, so I will call the December 14th session of the Harnett County Commissioners to order. And I will ask Commissioner McCoy to lead us in the pledge and in our invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us all bow our heads. Dear Lord, we come before you this morning just giving thanks for all your blessings and your mercy and grace. We ask that you bless each and every one that's in this building and bless those that are our citizens and our employees of this county. We ask that you keep in mind and give a special blessing for those people in Kentucky that have been struck by this tornado. We ask that you touch each and every one of the commissioners here. Give us the knowledge, the wisdom, and the patience to make the right decision for the people of this county and for all of our citizens and agents. We ask, Lord, that you cover our first responders, those that are out there protecting our lives and are protecting our freedom. These are all the blessings we ask. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Commissioner McCoy. Appreciate that. Do we have any additions or deletions to today's agenda?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we've got two, I believe you have at your desk there. We have a request from the Coates Grove Fire and Rescue. They want to do a striker stretcher purchase. And the reason we're asking you to add this is it's at their cost, but your agreement with them is anything over $20,000 has to be approved by you. And the reason for doing it now is this is the last meeting before the end of the year. And if they're able to get approval today, then before the end of the year, then they can get a 0 interest rate on the loan. So that's why we're asking you to approve it. The second one, Matt Willis, our Register of Deeds, is here, and he has a presentation requesting some additional money for the rest of the year. So we'd like to add that as well.
Okay. The addition for Coates Grove, we'll make that item number 11 if that's okay.
Sure.
And the addition for Mr. Willis will be item 12.
And I do want to make a note, I should have said this. You'll notice Matt will be voted on January 3rd, so there's no time problem there, but we did want to get it on here.
And then I think we have need for a closed session, so we'll add that in also.
We do. And that's on a personnel matter.
Okay. All right, so I hear a motion to approve the amended agenda.
Yes, sir, that's good. I was going to say one more, but we put it on there. I just forgot. We had to send you the memo later, but we do already have it on here.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Nichol. Thank you, Commissioner McCoy. Any discussion about these additions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Moving to item 3, and request that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance enacting and adopting the S4 supplement to the Code of Ordinances for Harnett County. Ms. Capps, would you like to tell us what that's all about?
Yes, sir. Good morning. American Legal Publishing was selected in 2018 to to compile your yearly updates to the Code of Ordinances, and they have completed the 2021 S4 supplement to the code, and it includes all ordinances of a general and permanent nature enacted since the prior supplement to the code. Those ordinances that they include the civil enforcement of North Carolina General Statute 20-217 by the means of an automated school bus safety camera installed and operated on any school bus within Harnett County. It also includes the new requirements of Chapter 160D of the North Carolina General Statutes, which consolidates current city and county statutes for development regulations. And also, it amends Article 7 Development Design Guidelines, Section 13.1 Recreation and Park Development, and Section 13.2 Bicycle, Pedestrian, and Greenway Improvements. We would just ask that the Board of Commissioners consider adopting an ordinance to incorporate the S4 supplement to the code. And that could be at your next meeting.
If there's no objection from members of the board, I will ask Ms. Capps to put this on our consent agenda for our January 3rd meeting.
Good with me.
You're agreeable with that? Commissioner? All right, you'll add that to our consent agenda?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Item 4, Sheriff's requesting a reclassification of a deputy position to Deputy Sheriff Corporal. Sheriff Coates, you want to address that?
Yes, sir. Let me ask you this. Do we have to do that separate? Can we do 4 and 5 together
I'm good.
while I'm standing here? Because it all involves no new monies.
Is that okay
Do we
with
have to do it
Commissioners?
separate?
Yeah, we'll do 4 and 5 together then.
Okay.
Thank you.
And what this does not include any new monies from the board. Where the money's coming from, it's lapsed money when Captain Grady retired, and I promoted Lieutenant Thompson up there to replace him. Lieutenant Thompson will be coming in at a smaller salary for now than what Captain Grady with 33 years was at. So the difference in the salary is $17,504. But with the combining and making that corporal's position and the administrative assistants, it only came to $15,887, which still left $1,617. So we're not having to ask for any new monies. It's the reason for the corporal's position. John Fordham's been with us over 17 years, and he's been there hauling federal prisoners, other prisoners across the state. He's out all hours of the night when they have to go to Morganton or somewhere and get them back to court before 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock next morning. And he's never been able to be promoted, which was his choice because he likes what he does. But he now has 2 other officers under him that he supervises. So this was an opportunity to give one of our deputies longevity that he's been there and dedicated, more rank and more money. So, and as far as the administrative assistants, again, that falls under, we had a difference of $17,000 some dollars. So again, there was no new monies coming that we need to ask for.
Any
And I think,
comments or
Sheriff,
questions for the sheriff?
If I could interject one thing.
Yes, sir.
Chair, when we discussed it too, I believe you said the administrative assistant is going to assume some of the duties that the
Yes.
manager used to do.
Thank you for reminding me. But with Captain Thompson now in there, he's got a lot of responsibility as far as new responsibilities that he never had before. So to keep from overwhelming him, we moved some of what Captain Grady was doing under the raise for the administrative assistant. So we're moving clerical work over to him so he can concentrate more in the jail and the inmates back there.
Any questions?
Has this been Now moving the additional duties to this other deputy, that has been agreed to and all that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just want to make sure we don't make anybody a little uncomfortable about adding more to the job classification. So,
And that's why we're gonna compensate her more as well.
okay, that's very clear because that's one thing we have got to start doing, compensating our employees for what they do. Thank you, Sheriff.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions or comments? If there's no disagreement with the commissioners, we will add this to the January 3rd consent agenda. Is that agreeable with everyone?
Yes,
Okay. Madam Clerk, if you will add that to the consent agenda for January 3rd.
Sure will.
And it looks like item 6 is also Sheriff Coates.
Get it all out in one session.
There you go.
What I'm asking for here, and again, this will not cost the taxpayers a dime, is most of you've seen the MRAP vehicle that we used. And we've only used it one other time other than for storm recovery. The MRAP was one of the vehicles we got from the government program, and it's outserved its purpose now. It's starting to cost us money. It's really not as what we really need at this point. So I did have Commissioner Witherspoon and Commissioner Nichols the other day. They got to see this vehicle I'm looking at purchasing through asset forfeiture to replace the MRAP, which will hold more people. Back when we had the floods, we recovered 50 people with that MRAP that could not be reached by rescue squads because of the low clearance of the vehicles. And you've got the photographs. The SBI owns 3 of them, and they've got them spread out across the state. But it's not always there if we need it, because they have to use it. Sheriff Bizzle over in Johnston County has one. He actually bought his. Of course, they have a bigger budget than we have. So, but with the asset forfeiture money, we can buy this. Also, emergency management, fire departments, we use the MRAP when we help them go down and cut trees down. Also, this will allow us to use, if we have hostage situations or barricaded situations, that we can get our deputies in there safe and they're not exposed. But it's just a great tool to have. And I don't think and I'm not certainly not going to do it, and I don't think y'all would, is put a dollar amount on a life. And this equipment is used to save lives, not just in times of hurricanes or whatever, but it'll protect our deputies as well.
And it's easier to get in and out of, I believe you said.
Yes, it is, safely. And again, this equipment, we used it before, and it's just costing us so much money now that in the way it works, the government, we can't sell it, but we can notify the way we got it, and they'll put it out there for another agency that needs it, and then we'll just sign it over to them. So again, it's no new money, and it doesn't cost the taxpayers a dime, but it's time for us to upgrade and not cost the sheriff's office a lot more money like it's. I think Josh can speak to this. Just a transmission alone, if the transmission goes out, and we've had it a while, you're talking about how much money.
Just because of the Under Armour on it, Commissioner, you're looking at $200,000 just for a transmission repair, let alone the electrical nightmare it has. Research through the other agencies that have across the state, they're spending upward of tens of thousands of dollars just on preventative maintenance, because your average oil change is hundreds of dollars. So it's a constant struggle we have keeping the preventive maintenance on it, keeping it operational.
Also, Commissioner Nichols made mention of it the other day when he got in. It's like looking at his Ford truck. It's made by Ford. And so if we got to have work on it, we can run right over here to the Ford place and have it worked on for a lot cheaper than what the MRAP was costing us. But it's a great tool for the county and the citizens of Harnett County.
I believe the MRAP, you said the HVAC system is out on it?
Yes, sir.
Not working now?
Yes, sir, that's.
I'd hate to be in that thing when it's 95 outside.
It's not fun. You can't roll a window down in that thing at all. So that's a constant struggle we had with it, was keeping that system operational. Also the weight of it. The weight of it is about 50,000 pounds. So one is destroying the roads in Harnett County, or damaging, not destroying them. But then it's also a huge risk on injury with rollovers.
And gas mileage too.
Gas mileage and going on a lot of terrain we have to go on as far as going in a yard. It's just the maneuverability of it is inadequate for our county.
Commissioner Johnson, have you seen the pictures of what,
I have not.
that's what
I
Sheriff
would
is
just,
proposing?
Mr. Chairman, may I speak? I would just say that, I know about the last bid you had, and I was one of the commissioners that went down in that area when they were flooded out. And I will never forget that time and that period. And the fact that you all rescued a lot of people there. Because when I went down, they had lost everything. This was on a Sunday. They had moved all the furniture in that water out in the front of their yard. So I see the need for us to have such a vehicle. And we having devastating weather every year. So I applaud you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions for the
I
sheriff?
have a question.
Yes, sir.
What is coming out of the front of it?
You want to explain what that's for?
I will let Josh explain that.
So that's it's a gas delivery system. So you attach that on. So it's something where if you have a gentleman barricaded, a gunman in a house who you've tried negotiations with and he's still failing to come out, and there's a risk to his safety and law enforcement citizen safety, you can deploy non-lethal gas into a house.
Here, yes.
And through that, so that again, that's one of those things where it keeps officers inside the vehicle, where we don't have to be exposed. Because now, currently, if we have to deploy gas, we'd have to shoot through weapon systems, where we'd have to be exposed and shoot through windows. Then you have projectiles that are going into windows. So this prevents projectiles from going to windows. You can make sure you can adjust the elevation on it, so you can go high into a corner of a room and deploy gas into a room.
That arm you see there, Commissioner, also in a hostage situation, I was talking to the officer from the SBI, and he said they got into a hostage situation. The person was barricaded in a room, and they just started collapsing the walls of the room around him. And pretty soon he just came running out.
And we didn't have officers, and they didn't have officers that had to rush in and get possibly shot while they were trying to do that.
If you pull
It's
up
all
in my
about
yard-
safety.
You pull up in my yard, I just give up.
I would too.
Any problem?
It's a pretty good sign you need to. Yeah. And if you don't give up, it's a pretty good sign you need some mental help.
Well, I might need that anyway.
Well, if everyone's in agreement, we will add this to the consent agenda for approval on January 3rd. Madam Clerk, if you will take care of that.
I sure will, thank you.
I would like to share one thing with you. Saturday morning, if you watched any news at all, you saw what happened in Maysville, Kentucky. My wife and I were watching it 6 o'clock in the morning, and I was devastated to what I saw and listened to the chief of police down there. He lost his whole department. He lost his town of about 10,000 people. No water supply, no sewer system, water tower's gone. Everything's gone. And I've took something on my own, and it's turned out bigger than what I can handle or anticipate. I knew it'd be successful, but for it to be successful, I need help. And so I made a few phone calls Saturday morning about 7 o'clock, and I never believed it would get this big. And I'm inviting you as commissioners. Thursday, I'm having a meeting at the sheriff's office at 11:30. I've got all the mayors from all the municipalities, I've spoken to Commissioner Weatherspoon. I'm inviting all of you to come to this meeting. These folks need our help. Um, you know, the Red Cross is in there, but this town is devastated. And they need help. So I made a few phone calls. Um, Food Line is graciously going to give us a tractor trailer, a driver, and he said, Sheriff, I'll send it anywhere you need it to go. And he's also going to put 2 pallets of water on it for us. So this meeting Thursday, and I've invited I only have room for about 40 folks. And I reached out to some pastors across the county, and they're going to be there because I'm looking input. And my dad always taught me, surround yourself with good people and you do well in life. Well, I'm surrounding myself with good folks here to come up with suggestions on how we need to do and move forward to this. I think with all the publicity, and I've been able to speak with WCKB, WPYB, and our Channel 5's agreed to come down when we start this to get coverage out there. I really feel deep down that we can fill a tractor trailer load up in 1 day's time. But it's going to take help from everybody. And I'd like for my commissioners, if you can, to be here Thursday at 11:30 at the sheriff's office and be a part of this, because this could be our community. It has been our community back a few years ago with tornadoes, but nothing like this. And I can deal with spontaneous catastrophes. That's what we do every day at the sheriff's office. When you get on scene, you take control and do it. But with the phone calls I've already got with no advertisement, I'm going to need help and volunteers and everything like that, and input from people like you to help with suggestions on how we can make this go smooth and make it happen. So if you're available Thursday, I invite you, welcome you there, your input. And that's all I got to say, except Merry Christmas in case I don't see any of you before Christmas. But it'll be 11:30 Thursday morning. Thank you.
Thanks, Sheriff. All right, item 7, General Services Director requests the Board of Commissioners consider the reinstatement of passenger fees for the Rural Operating Assistance Program. Mr. Blevins?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, board members. As you can see, that we are requesting the reinstatement of the dollar ride fee, the passenger fee, a fare that is associated with the RGP funding. Generally, last year, as we explained, the General Assembly did not fund us, and so they asked us to use CARES Act dollars to refund the county for losses incurred by doing that transportation. When they approved the budget, RGP is now reinstated. The fares that we collect for people using that type of funding, we use those for matching, because it is a match for that particular program. We use that for matching. We also use that to subsidize the additional cost of operating on the RGP. And I've asked Mr. Smith to come here, and if you have any technical questions or elaboration needed, I'll be glad to answer those questions.
Will do. If I could, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
As I understand it, in talking with you, the main thing is that the state is requiring us to reinstate the fee as a condition of getting this money.
Yes and no. They want you to use it for the match because you're required to meet the match.
Yeah.
But you have to show that you're using that match. So that's how you check everything with dollar ride and how you report. So you have to charge a fare in order to show those dollars.
Any questions for Mr. Blevins?
If we chose to, could we charge a lesser fee? It sounds like what you're saying is we got to charge a fee.
Yes.
Right.
We could charge a lesser fee. Right now it's at $3 for in county and $5 for out of county.
Okay. So I just wanted you to know you do have that option. I was under the impression it was mandatory, that we had to take it all, reinstate the whole thing. So,
Mr. Chairman?
I just wanted you to know you do have that option.
Okay. My question is, That's big. Um, is this dollar fee for everyone?
No, ma'am. It's just for folks that use the RGP program funds.
Yes.
So if you don't fit any other category, you don't fit the ed tab, employment, Medicaid, then that program is for you. And you get charged because you're using that particular funding.
Okay. That was what I was
So
concerning our Medicaid patients.
no, ma'am, none of that,
I
no,
wanted to make very sure before
no,
I
ma'am. And
agree to
generally,
this because
Larry, if you
that's very
could,
serious.
generally we use that for people doing employment,
Right.
those type of things that are not affiliated with DSS employment program. You want to elaborate some more?
So Ms. McCoy, for Medicaid, no Medicaid recipient ever pays any kind of cost that comes from NCDHHS. That comes directly through us through a different type of funding source. So that worry I can take off the table for you.
You know what? Well, thank you very much.
Yes,
Because I just wanted to make sure. I want to have all the facts before I say yes. And I see nothing wrong with what you're doing. Because, as long as it doesn't affect those injured patients. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think the only other thing I think we need to know, wasn't the amount roughly $58,000 a year?
Yes, so we waived the fee last year, the board did waive the fee through April 20, is that correct?
Correct.
And essentially, we transported enough folks that if we would have charged, it would have been $58,000.
So that's the magnitude of the issue.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to charge less than the $3, and that's $3 each way, right?
Correct.
So that's a $6 fee for somebody to come and go. If you wanted to do less than that, you know, charging to $3 generates basically $60,000. So if you want to do some multiple less than that, you know, I wanted you to have the dollar figure you were talking about.
And I will state that we are one of the lowest fares in all the surrounding counties with the Dollar Ride program.
Is this a program to break even or to bring in revenue to the county?
So overall, the system has been breaking even because of the Medicaid reimbursement, but if we didn't have that reimbursement, it would not break even. So that's one reason why Dollar Ride was initiated to begin with, is to help offset that cost of that. That's the largest part of the grant. It's called ROAP, Rural Operating Assistance Program. There's 3 phases to it. There's EdTap, there's employment, and then there's the RGP portion. The RGP portion is the largest portion of that grant they give us, that the General Assembly approves. So if you just ran those particular calls and you didn't do Medicaid, we wouldn't break even. So Medicaid helps us to break even for the entire system.
What about this?
So even if you initiated and kept it at $3, we would not break even on that RGP piece.
When you waived the fee last year, did you break even or not?
We did with CARES dollars.
With CARES dollars?
Yes.
We won't always have those.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
We've got one more round coming that we're in the process with DOT.
Okay.
And we intend to use that for salaries, but we were reimbursed about $390,000 for all the Dollar Rides that we waived through allocating the full cost of the trip through DOT. That's pretty much a one-time deal. In normal circumstances, the FTA won't allow it. It was just a circumstance because of COVID.
So if I understand correctly, what you were telling Commissioner McCoy, this program is basically for people that are seeking employment or trying to get to jobs. Is that correct?
Get to jobs. They could also go to the store, those kind of things. But yes, the program is just where they don't fit anywhere else. They don't have transportation. They use our system. So they could go to the bank, to stores, but a lot of people that are using it right now are going to their jobs.
Because I think we should do everything possible to encourage people to get to work.
Agreed.
That's why I'm wondering what, if anything, can we do about possibly lowering the fees some?
It's at your discretion. So if $3 a trip generates 60,000, you know, then you could set it at wherever you want to set it, and whatever you do there, we would subsidize it. But now these next few years, we'll also have some of the other money we're getting from ARPA that we may be able to put at it.
I mean, do we know what it would, if, let's say we reduced it hypothetically to $2 per trip?
We'd
Or
lose-
let's say we went to, instead of $6 round trip, we went to $5 round trip. What would that do as far as money coming in?
Now, that's a $50 on,
40,000,
Yeah.
it'd be a third off.
yeah, well, it's 1/6 off on the full trip. If you're saying charge $5 for a $6 two-way trip. So that'd be 1/6. You'd be losing 1/6 of the revenue. So 1/6 of 60,000 would be 10 grand.
Any comments from any of my fellow commissioners? Thoughts?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Hey, if we can get people to work and, ease that burden just a little bit for those that are actually going out to work, I'm all for it. Public transportation is obviously a big issue, and I think this is one of the least things that we can do.
I'll speak. I keep thinking about when I heard about this program a couple of years ago, how valuable it is to those people that are working in Wake County and other counties, that we provide this service. And I keep thinking about, there are a lot of counties that don't provide the services that we do for our citizens as well as for our senior citizens. I see nothing wrong with the cost now. And there are so many things happening now that working people have to deal with. Either way is all right with me. But if you want to reduce it, it's fine. But I don't see anything wrong with the fee that we're charging now, because the cost of gas and the cost of being on the highway, traveling back and forth to your job, when the county can assist a citizen like that, that's a major thing. That's a major benefit. So I'm for it either way the commission.
It's a valid point.
Well, if y'all are in agreement, we would put it on for the January 3rd meeting. That gives y'all 2 more weeks to think about what you might want to do on it.
Is that agreeable to add it to the January 3rd meeting? And in the meantime, we can talk amongst ourselves and confer with Mr. Wood if we have further questions.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
In the meantime, we'll run those numbers just to give a.
That would be, yeah, could
Yeah.
you run those and send all the commissioners an email with those numbers?
In increments of $1.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Okay. Thank you very
Good.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners. All right, Mr. Haney, you want to talk about the 4-H teen court?
Yes, good morning. Again, I'm here to talk about the 4-H Teen Court program, which is operated under Harnett County Cooperative Extension since 2012. The program, for those of you who are not familiar, provides sentencing alternatives to juvenile first offenders whose referring behavior constitutes a violation of the law or a misdemeanor, who are actively enrolled in an educational program and who are deemed appropriate referrals to the program. Cases are heard by fellow teens, serving as the jury, attorneys, clerk, and the bailiff. Over the years, the program has seen considerable success and improved outcomes for the juveniles who go through the program. Some of them, through the 4-H program, end up participating in the 4-H program. Also, some of the students who participate as attorneys and in other roles go on to law school. So it has seen considerable positive outcomes. The program is funded through a grant from the Harnett County Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, and since its inception, the funding has covered salary and benefits for a 4-H program assistant who oversees the program, in addition to required staff training and other program needs as funding has allowed, and that funding has covered the program until now. Approximately 98% of referrals to the program come from school resource officers, so obviously with the transition to virtual learning through the pandemic, the numbers dropped because kids weren't in school to be referred by those SROs. But now that school is back in session in person, things are starting to pick up, and the program believes things will continue to pick up. Cooperative Extension submitted a request this past year for $45,000 in funding, which was the minimum they felt was required to run the program by paying the employee's salary and benefits and the required training. The department was notified in the spring that they would only receive $40,000 of that $45,000 funding request, but there would be another opportunity to apply in the fall for the remaining $5,000, which they did. In October, Cooperative Extension was informed that their request would not be funded for that additional $5,000, leaving a $5,000 gap to carry the program through to the end of the current fiscal year. So without that $5,000, the program will end sometime in the spring of 2022. We have met with the Cooperative Extension Director, 4-H agent, and the program assistant who oversees the program, and we are recommending that the board authorize the transfer of $5,000 from contingency to fund this program through the end of the current fiscal year, at which time Cooperative Extension will submit another grant request to JCPC in the hopes of continuing to fully fund the program going forward. Per the board's fiscal policies, we're required when the county is asked to assume some grant funding to come before the board and seek your authorization. But we do have funding and contingency where throughout the year, things that we may have not needed some of that funding for, there is available funding to cover this in contingency as budgeted. And Cooperative Extension Director Tim Matthews is here if you've got any further questions on the program, and I'm available to answer any questions as well.
I personally think this is a very good cause. Anything we can do to help troubled kids and maybe help keep them from being repeat offenders or worse. I think we should pursue that.
Mr. Chairman, I think this is money well spent, and I think we ought to go ahead and take care of this. It seems like unreasonable not to.
100% agree.
All right, so that being the case, if no objections, we will add this to the consent agenda for approval in our January 3rd meeting. Does that meet your time frame?
It does. I think obviously there is some time before the program would run out, but I think given that we are talking about staff, they were hoping to get some certainty from the board to know whether or not they'd have that position. So yes, January 3rd
Well,
would be.
I think we can tell them they've got our permission to move forward with that, and we'll just make a formal approval on January 3rd.
Yes, we'll bring it before you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, do you want to address the insurance broker services?
Yes, sir. So the county issued an RFP for benefits broker services on November 3rd, seeking offers from qualified brokers to assist the county with, quote, strategically planning, designing, and negotiating the best coverage and costs for selective employee benefit programs, to include health, dental, vision, and various other voluntary programs. Responses to the RFP were due on November 22nd. The county had previously issued an RFP in 2019 and at the time had selected independent benefit advisors to provide broker services through June of 2022. IBA has been the county's broker since 2014. The RFP was posted on the county website as well as in North Carolina IPS Interactive Purchasing System website, and the county also directly solicited responses from 12 vendors who have either submitted proposals previously or been invited to submit proposals in the past. The county received 6 responses by the deadline. and a committee was formed comprised of staff from the county manager's office, human resources, the finance office, and the legal department to review the proposals. And that committee narrowed that list of 6 vendors down to the top 3, which we conducted interviews with. We interviewed the top 3 finalists the week of December 6th, last week, and following the interviews, voted to recommend that the board select Mark III as the county's benefits broker for the benefits plan year beginning July 1 of 2022. And this recommendation is based on a number of factors, including Mark III's approach to consulting and cost containment strategies, which prioritizes data analytics and creativity, seeks proactive and preventive solutions, and sets realistic expectations. Mark III's open enrollment platform, which is customizable and user-friendly and integrates into the county's payroll software, which will reduce manual keying that's currently required by staff, resulting in a time savings for those staff and a reduction in errors. Also, the services provided by Mark III in-house, which includes a robust employee engagement program. Also, the results Mark III has demonstrated in other jurisdictions related to their cost containment and wellness program results, as well as the potential benefits of Mark III's healthcare pool for self-funded employers that they're currently working to set up. Additionally, the quality of the reference that were provided by Mark III included numerous comparable and well-respected local government organizations. To go over the cost comparison, in terms of cost, the 3 main components of an insurance program are the broker fees, the claims experience, and the reinsurance. So not knowing who the selected broker would engage in terms of different carriers, it was impossible for us to really compare the apples to apples, but we were able to look at the broker fees, which were set out in the proposals. Here, Mark III offers a competitive broker fee of $25,000 per year for medical with standard commissions on other products. This was the lowest cost of all respondents with one exception. Currently, the county pays IBA $6,720 per month, or just over $80,000 per year. However, in their proposal, IBA provided 2 options, one at $8 per employee per month, which is around $82,000 a year, based on 856 full-time employees, which is what we provided in the RFP. And then a reduced cost option of $2 per employee per month, which is just over $20,000 a year based on that employee number. That option took out some of the things that we had previously received from IBA in order to make that work. So that ultimately was a difference of just under $4,500 between Mark III and IBA. However, the committee felt that annual cost difference was nominal, given that broker fees are such a small portion of the overall insurance program, and that the difference could easily be made up through claims management over the course of the year. The committee did factor in that the coordination required to transition from one broker to another. There is some coordination required in that, and it will be additional staff time there. However, ultimately, we felt that the benefits of transitioning to Mark III outweighed any difficulties associated with making the transition to a new broker. So given these factors, the committee and county management recommend the board select Mark III Employee Benefits as the county's benefits broker to provide broker services for the benefits plan year beginning July 1 of 2022, and to direct the county manager to enter into a contract for 3 years with the option to renew for up to 2 additional 1-year terms, which is standard in how we do that. In order to provide the selected broker with sufficient time to review the county's current insurance program, to shop for carriers for the upcoming year, and to successfully implement the transition, we're recommending that the board select a broker at their regular meeting on January 3rd. I would like to acknowledge the committee members who took part in this process for the work they did reviewing all the proposals and considering each proposal, for the work they did in interviewing the finalists and bringing their knowledge, expertise, and feedback to the discussion. We had the relevant stakeholders from the county involved, and each was able to provide their own expertise from their subject area to bring that to bear. So we feel the process was thorough and informative, and we appreciate the committee members' participation. With that, I'm available for any questions. Mr. Wood, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
I was just going to mention that our insurance program, the health insurance alone is about $10 million a year. So this is the broker who helps you evaluate that plan each year and decide if you need to tweak anything. They'll give you an estimation of what medical inflation is going to be so that you can adjust your rates accordingly for that. So it's a very critical component to our operation, but as Brian said, it's a very nominal amount from a dollar standpoint. When you get through with it, it probably ends up costing you about $150,000, but it's to help you run a $10 million operation. So I think you can see that's a small amount. And then the only other component other than the claims is we always get reinsurance. And what that does is caps your exposure on a really large claim at a set amount. And then the reinsurance kicks in, and that protects us from catastrophic type claims and protects the fund. But I felt we had a very good process. We had some competitive things. I think for most of the members, the overriding consideration was one of the things that Kimberly had made clear from the get-go was she would like something that integrated payroll with this. So because right now we have a manual system. Now the way we do open enrollment right now is automated. But the problem is when they get through, that information is not downloaded automatically into payroll. With the company we're going with, their software already integrates with Tyler, which is Munis. That's our accounting system and payroll system. So I think that probably was one of the big deciding factors for a lot of us because that was a feature we wanted, but they were the only ones who actually had it now. Others are in the process of possibly developing it, but this is a proven product. We know it'll work, and I think it's going to help finance tremendously. The other thing that does is we have about 850 to 875 employees. Each one of those, when you have to touch it manually, is an opportunity to screw it up. And so anything you can automate that keeps that error rate down, that's huge. So it's not just the time savings, it's the quality of the output we're going to have. So for that reason, I'm in full agreement. I will also tell you that, and I shared this with the committee, I've worked with Mark III in 2 different counties, so I'm very aware of their level of customer service, and I think you're going to be very satisfied.
Any questions from any of my fellow commissioners or any comments? I want to say thank you to the committee for all your, I know this was time-consuming and not an easy job, easy task to go through all those proposals, and I just want to say thank you for your hard work. Well, if
I have a question.
yes, ma'am.
Since you're dealing with the brokers right now, there's no way to say if there's going to be any extra cost to the employees.
I beg your pardon?
I said, since you're working with the broker, last week you were working with the broker this week, there's no way to tell if there's going to be any extra increase for the employees.
I think this is a transition that we've gone through before in the county, and it's something that it is a natural process, and I think we're committed to making sure that there are no negative impacts on our employees at all through this transition.
I just want to explain the reason I'm asking this because I know the high cost of healthcare, and it goes up every single year.
That's right.
But I understand what you're doing. Still a little issues years back, so I'm fine with it. I think you did a great job.
One of the things I wanted to mention also, and I should have, I think periodically it's good to change because you've had 7 years of one broker looking at things and making recommendations to you. And that's not to say they haven't done a good job. They probably have. But by periodically switching, then you get the thought process of another group. And maybe they see something the other group didn't see, or come up with a suggestion we might want to do. The other thing I want to stress is what happens invariably, and you hit the nail on the head, we're going to get a medical inflation increase every year. We all know that. So typically what we will do is once we get that, and we get that pretty early in the process, we're able to sit down with a broker, whoever you select, and say, okay, realistically, let's say our revenues grew by 4%, anything that grows more than 4%, we're having to take money out from somewhere else to cover that added cost. So typically what I try to do is say, well, give us options on how we can cut this back. Let's say he came in and said medical inflation is going to be 8%. Then typically what I would say is, our revenue projections are 4%. And so give us options on what we could do to tweak our plan that does the least disruption to our employees and see if we can live with those options. And then, of course, we bring all of that then to you and say, here's where we're at, here's the problem, what do y'all want to do with it? But that's basically how the process will work, long and short of it. The other thing that's driving this, and the reason, as Brian alluded to, that we have to move so quickly is the deadline for getting this done is not July 1. It's really sometime in May, around mid-May, because we have to have about 45 days to do open enrollment for our employees. And as y'all know, that's where everybody goes through and selects the optional insurances they want and that sort of thing, and whether they want spousal coverage and those kinds of things. And so this gives them a window of about 4.5 months to get all of this done. And part of this is once we determine what our plan is going to be, then they're going to bid out these voluntary programs for insurance. But the main thing is they're going to be sitting down with us to detail and decide what we're going to do about designing our medical plan, because you're self-insured, which means you don't take a cookie-cutter plan off the shelf from Blue Cross or Aetna somewhere. You've designed a plan, and every year you can tweak that plan depending on what you need to do. And that's what's going to take a lot of the time.
I just want to add to that. The insurance here in Harnett County has been complicated for many, many years. Many years. I've had employees come to me and say they just couldn't pay it. And we don't need to have our employees without coverage. So I applaud you, Brian, for your report. And Mr. Wood, I know you're a very knowledgeable man, so I accept your response to my question. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm okay. I'm okay. I know about insurance.
So is everyone in agreement that in our January 3rd meeting, we approved Mark III for a 3-year period of time with 2 one-year options? Is everyone in agreement with that? Okay. All right. Then, Madam Clerk, if you will put that on the consent agenda for January 3rd, we will take care of that approval.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Haney. All right, Mr. Smith, you want to talk about Coach Grove's need for a power load stretcher? Who's that? Oh, I'm sorry. I jumped in. You don't mind if, go ahead.
All right, this will just take a second. I'm just cutting in line. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I'm just going to represent Coach Grove this morning. What they're trying to do right now is to replace their old manual stretchers on their ambulances with the Stryker power load stretchers that we have on the county units. The chief approached me last week with it. They have an opportunity right now to buy those replacements with 0% financing. The overall cost of this will be about $44,000. They'll make an annual payment for 3 years. The first payment will be in July of next year, and those units will be installed in February of 22. And they're just requesting a permission because it does go over that capital project item. Any questions you may have? The big thing about these stretchers is, I know Kimberly helped us years ago when we switched over to ours. We've reduced our employee injuries from lifting down to at least 95% because these stretchers take that load off of the employee themselves, and that's what the chief is trying to do too, is kind of limit some of those injuries that we get. Any questions?
So we could potentially have an unknown savings on our health insurance moving forward, as
Yes,
well
sir.
as our
Yes,
workman's
sir.
comp.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
Hey,
sir.
And he's right.
see how it
That's
fell
been
in, see how it
improved.
flowed right in there?
All right.
Any questions or comments? Is everyone agreeable with this expenditure?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Can we go ahead and vote on it today? Or since they need it for December 31st, or can we just?
Yes, we
would
could.
prefer you do it today.
Yeah, that way they can sign a contract
Okay.
before the end of the month to get this rolling.
Okay, do I hear a motion authorizing Coach Grove to purchase the power load
Mr.
stretchers?
Chairman, just a point of order.
Yes, sir.
Good. I mean, normally the work sessions are not voting meetings.
That's right.
They vote.
We can get a consensus of agreement on this, and that way they can
Move on.
proceed before December 31st, and we can put it on the consent agenda and vote on it January 3rd. Is everyone agreeable with that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, if we can do it.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
The board is, the consensus of the board is, we're in agreement with them purchasing that power stretcher.
Thank you very much.
All righty.
Anything to keep our workers' comp.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, Mr. Price, sorry about that. Mr. Willis, you didn't get us lucky. You gotta sit here a while longer.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Hope everybody's doing well. The item on the workshop this morning is consider a request for work authorization number 17-01 for the Jetport Terminal building. What this is the committee had talked with Talbot and Bright about design build options, and we'd asked to take the staircase off the back and a number of other things for them to look at. We've also looked at moving to three-phase power onto the site, looking at IT low voltage designs and security network as far as putting inside the building. So all that was taken into consideration with their architects. So this is a work authorization that I need you to approve, please, so we can move forward with the process of the construction of the terminal.
One question that has come up, how much of this 17,000 is attributed to that spiral staircase?
I think that was about, I'm trying to remember the figure. It wasn't a tremendous amount.
No, it's fairly
It
simple.
was less than 10, I want to say, Chairman.
If you remember though, they came up with a list.
Yeah.
I think you had requested a list of possible cuts. And they had about 8 or 9 things, but as y'all recall, the committee said it wasn't worth the squeeze to do them. But they did invest the time exploring all that, and so that's part of it.
The reason for asking, if taking that spiral staircase off is going to increase, have a significant increase in cost, plus delay moving forward, then I think the advisory board would say leave it. We'll lock it so they can't use it.
I think he's already well underway.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
he just
Changing the
needs this done
plans.
so we won't delay any more time.
We told him
'Cause-
early on you
yeah.
didn't want the staircase.
Right,
Because
Okay.
even before the committee voted, that was clear. We
Months
had
back.
already,
Yeah.
that was unanimous. Nobody wanted that.
yeah.
Okay.
So we went ahead and gave him the okay on that
Yeah.
early on to get it off.
And basically, everything you're seeing on this work authorization, the county has requested,
Right.
to move forward, but I don't think it was a significant amount.
Okay. Well, I mean, that was a question that I was asked. Is this a,
And
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna delay it. We
Okay.
should be close to having everything. You know, the thing that Coley's working on now is working out the details with the state about how do we receive the money, how do we report on the money, that sort of thing. And once we get that, and then they're gonna be coming along with the plans here shortly. And then y'all have already voted to move forward, so we're gonna get them out to bid.
I think the last information I had was that the money from the budget will probably start flowing somewhere end of January, 1st of February.
Oh, really?
And they think it's going to come through DOT, but they're not 100% sure.
I would that would be the easiest thing,
Yeah.
considering the massive amount that's going across the state of North Carolina, because
Right.
DOA has still got to approve this terminal. So we've got to
Right.
go through that process. So I'm hoping that we'll hear from that in the next, month or so about where we stand.
Yeah, well, it sounds like Simon's gonna line up, get
Yeah.
the money, and
Yeah.
the plans are ready, and then we're ready to bid out.
And I'm meeting weekly with Talbot and Bright, so give you any updates, and we'll look at the time frame and hope we can make that work.
I guess the only other thing, while we're giving you updates on the airport, is, Chris is close on having the two, engineer of record contracts done. And once we have that done, of course, we'll be back to you almost immediately with a work authorization for Parish to start on, evaluating the property out there for acquisition.
And I've actually asked Parrish to come to our next meeting in January at the Jetport Committee, obviously to introduce and to meet them, and then talk about the priorities and the needs that we're looking at for hangar space and land.
Any questions? Okay, so if everyone's in agreement with this work authorization, approving this work authorization, we will add it to the consent agenda for January the 3rd and
That would be
get
great.
that approved.
That would be
But,
great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't think a whole lot's going to happen between now and January
No,
3rd.
I don't think so either.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you, Mr. Price.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Willis.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, Commissioners. I'm Matt Willis. I'm the Register of Deeds here in Harnett County. So I've been in office a little over a year now, and it's flown by. We're doing some good things in our office. A lot of firsts for me, which includes my first budget was last year. I'm here today asking for a budget amendment of $6,600, and that would be going into our contracted services. And basically, when I was preparing my first budget, again, it was a learning experience, and unfortunately, we just didn't fund this account enough. By North Carolina General Statute, which covers pretty much everything we do in our office, we are required to back up our recorded documents. These documents have to be put on microfilm and then sent to the North Carolina Department of Natural and Cultural Resources. So basically, the increase in this budget item would be to continue having this data converted over to microfilm so that we can send it up to Raleigh. Another reason we do this is if we ever have a ransomware attack, this is a way we can replicate our data, stay online, keep recording, keeping our office open to the citizens of Harnett County. Just real quick, one reason we didn't put enough money in this is because we never know how many documents we're going to record in our office. In 2019, we recorded just over 19,000 documents. This year, we're on pace to record about 32,000 documents. Deeds of trust contain typically 15 pages. They can run up to 30 pages, just depending on what's all in it. So we never really know how much we're going to need. But moving forward, being that we're moving to our second budget in a couple months, I promise you, I'm gonna do my best not to have to come ask for more money. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to attempt to answer.
Any questions for Mr. Willis?
I'd like to say that they do a good job of maintaining security and integrity of the vital records of Harnett County. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Is that true? Is that increase this year with 2019? Is that because COVID? We had a lag with COVID, or
No, sir. We record as documents come in, and it's just the growth of Harnett County. The real estate market's hot. And one interesting thing, if you look at it now, just by looking at the revenue tax that comes in each month, I mean, Harnett County's real estate, it's about 130 million worth of transfer each month now in Harnett County, which is crazy. But you know, in the grand scheme of things, I've actually been working the last 8 months on a new vendor. Hopefully, going to save some money for the taxpayers in this coming budget year. That's my main goal, is good product for a lower price.
well, unless anyone disagrees, we'll add this to the consent agenda for January 3rd, Madam Clerk.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a Merry Christmas.
Same to you, sir. All right, Mr. Wood, County Manager's report.
Mr. Chairman, of course, we'll go through the regular meeting agenda, and you have a few applications to go through. One thing I did want to add is, and I sent y'all an email on this, but I just wanted to emphasize it. We had the opportunity to look at a trailer because we're going to have a temporary office out of the airport. Because as y'all know, our new terminal is going to go on the site where our existing terminal is, so it's coming down. And so we've got to have a temporary one on site so that when our customers fly in or whatever, you know, we're able to accommodate them and have an area to rest and have a restroom break and things like that. So we went out, Coley and I went out and looked at that trailer this past week. We didn't think it would serve our needs. We actually were able to go inside, and it's cut up. It's a 60-foot trailer, and it's cut up into 4 15-foot wide offices. But none of them have a restroom, and that's a critical component for us at the terminal. Also, it's a little small with just 60 by. I'm not sure how deep they were. I think they were 25 or 30 foot deep. Anyway, we had one other issue that had come up, and we think it's one that will solve this problem, and that is when we met with Central Carolina Community College to talk about changing workforce development. The provost was in that meeting, and for some reason we got to talking about, we were talking about workforce, and workforce is in a trailer on CCCC's campus. And so we started talking about the fact that we're trying to renovate one of our buildings that was vacated when we moved in, over here and other locations. And they indicated then they've been wanting to get rid of that trailer. So what they want us to do is once we relocate workforce development, they would like that trailer, that whole building removed. And what we really have over there is 2 trailers with a little breezeway in between them that our construction people built to attach them. So Coley and I went over and looked at that and said, well, let's see if that would work and we could move that. So we went over there. It's much larger. Even just using one part of it is much larger than the other. Full bathrooms. You can put doors on either side, so which, as you know, we need because people will come in off the tarmac, but then if they're going to the parking lot, they got to go through another door. So it works there because we're going to create one of the doors. Everything works. We brought Chris Johnson over. Chris is our construction manager on capital projects. He's done the renovation over at Ben Haven School, and I've been over and looked at that. They do very good work, so they can handle this no problem. So we brought Chris in. He met us over there. We also asked Natalie to run over and meet us there from the airport. Got her opinion. She thinks it's more than ample room and it'll work just fine. Chris thinks the front part he would not take. The first trailer is extremely old. He would just haul that off. The back trailer is the one we're talking about. It has plenty of room. It will suffice for our needs. He went around and looked at it, so he's getting pricing from a trailer moving company who would take it from there to the airport, set it up for us and all that, and then his people will do the underpinning, the utility connections and that sort of thing. So off the top of my head, my recollection is that the preliminary estimate we had for a trailer was somewhere around $120,000. So depending on what it costs to move that and make some minor modifications and hook up the utilities, you know, I would say we're going to save in the neighborhood of maybe $70,000 or so on that. And just to reiterate, we would have had to move the other anyway, because that's the last really big remaining buildable area on that college campus. So I'm sure they've got something in mind and they would like it out of the way. So I just wanted to give you that update. So we're getting all the pieces of the puzzle together for the airport terminal. And as soon as we have all of that, of course, the linchpin there is for the same people to finish the renovations on the building. We're doing one block off Front Street in Lillington. Then we'll move our workforce development folks in there. Then once this is vacant, they will have lined that up. We'll get it moved out there. We'll get it set up and everything. But we're not going to do that until we have bid everything out. The contractor has mobilized, and then he says, all right, I'm ready to demolish it, because, you know, we got to make sure we got the space. Now, it will be in a different location, but we'll coordinate all of that. Just wanted you to know we think we got that problem solved.
Good, thank you. And if I may, Natalie, last Friday, had a chili cook-off out at the airport. I was not able to get away, but I've heard that there were pilots coming in from all over, and that everybody was very impressed and appreciative of her putting that on. So it's just a little bit more to put Harnett Regional on the map and get our name out there. So I'm excited about the things that are happening out at the airport and the things that will be happening starting in 2022. All right. Any questions for Mr. Wood? Do you want to go over the agenda for January 3rd?
Sure. Okay. On January 3rd, what we have so far, budget amendments, tax rebates, and then we start with the things you went over this morning on D. That's the code ordinance that Melissa's asking you for. Then we got the reclassification of the deputy sheriff and also the detention civilian position for the sheriff, and then also approving his purchase of the specialty vehicle. And then the request for reinstating the passenger fees. And again, y'all were going to give that some thought about what you want to do. You know, just to remind you, what was waived was it used to be $3 each way. So a trip would have been $6 for one of our citizens. Okay. And so you can do that anywhere from, I guess 50 cents on up to $3 per trip, whatever you want to do.
So we need to pull that off the consent agenda and.
Yeah, I think we need to discuss that. Okay, and that's right. Then the 4-H teen court, that's the $5,000 there. I think you put that on consent. The work authorization for the terminal building, I believe you put that on consent. And I believe that's it.
We also added, the power,
Right.
the power stretcher, power load stretchers for Coates Grove.
That's right.
And the request from
Matt. for the $5,000.
Register of Deeds office.
And you've got those. Okay.
All right?
That's everything I've got. You got anything else?
And I believe you guys said that we could put the insurance broker services also on consent. So
Yes, that is
I'll add
correct.
that.
Okay.
That is correct.
That's it.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we go into closed session. Ma'am? Can I do that now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we would like to go into closed session to discuss and deal with certain personnel matters. I'm making this a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that we go into closed session. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right.
Chairman, I'm making a motion that we adjourn.
Have a
Chairman, I
motion-
second that motion.
have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposition? We are adjourned.